Hello everybody, dear students, a very warm good morning to you all. So today we shall just discuss a new thing about from the grammar series, and it is about our poems. And you know that the first poem that we have been prescribed in our textbook is Daffodils, and it is one of the most celebrated poem written by William Wordsworth. So, first of all, let us have some sort of conceptual clarity regarding the poet himself. You know that William Wordsworth, he is said to be a romantic poet. Romantic poet in the sense that he belonged to the age of romantic age, or what we say romanticism. And romanticism is very important term as far as English is concerned, because whenever the term romantic that comes to our mind, we feel it is about the romantic mood, or we are involved in romance. But actually, romanticism is not like that. It is a literary movement. It was actually held in 18th century, and it celebrated nature, or it focused on nature as well as on the human beings. So romanticism refers to nothing else but it is against the classicism. It is against classicism. And now the two terms are very clear. Classicism, what we say as classic, because earlier the poems are based on classicism. Classicism refers to certain rules and regulations. The norms of poems must be followed, and the language was also very difficult as far as classicism is concerned. So the language was very verbose. The use of the bombastic words were there in those poems. But romanticism, it develops what? It develops with the simple language or colloquial language. That is why the poet like William Wordsworth, S.T. Coleridge or Samuel Taylor Coleridge, Lord Byron, Percy Bysshe Shelley and John Keats, these are the five poets who are called as the romantic poets, and they revolted against classicism. Why? Because during that time, poetry was meant only for the sophisticated or the aristocrat people. It was meant only for the educated mass. Only the educated people, they could enjoy the poems. The poems were written in such diction or such words that average people, the ordinary people, the working class people who are called as the proletariats could never enjoy any one of the poems. As a result, from the revolt of all these romantic poets like William Wordsworth, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, Lord Byron, Percy Bysshe Shelley and John Keats, the age of romanticism that came, and that is why the term is said to be romanticism. Actually, William Wordsworth, along with the collaboration of another poet, Samuel Taylor, S.T. Coleridge, they wrote a volume of poems. They published an anthology known as Lyrical Ballads. And it was published in 1798. See, and it created a sensation as far as poetry is concerned, and That is why it is called as the age of sensibility. These are some sort of things in your higher secondary level are not required at all anyway, but at least for our clarity in the concept of romanticism, we should learn a little. So, William Wordsworth said to be a romantic poet, number one, and he was the pioneer of all the romantics because he was the leader of them. And he revolted that. He revolted against the classicism, saying that poetry is an art and art should be enjoyed by all. And in that sense, poetry should also be enjoyed by all. Deviating from the norms of the classicism, so all the poets they developed, some of the poems written in very colloquial language, the language that we express in our day-to-day life. As a result, the poems were highly appreciated by all kinds of people. From educated mass to the proletariats, the working class people, uneducated and illiterate ones could also enjoy the poems. So, Wordsworth is said to be the pioneer of all the romantic poets. And secondly, as far as Wordsworth is concerned, let you know that actually he is said to be a pantheist. Another term we should learn, he is said to be a pantheist. So, the theory what it develops is based on pantheism. Why is he said to be a pantheist? Because of his love for nature. He was actually born in 1770 and died in 1850. He could just spend near about a span of 80 years. So, what had happened? He is said to be a pantheist in the sense because of his love of nature. He was actually a true lover of nature. He is said to be, some of the critics have labeled him as the high priest of nature. High priest of nature. Why? Because actually he was a great priest of nature. He was a great worshipper of nature. The term nature, whenever comes to our mind, we just imagine of all the natural beauties. Basically, our nature generally what includes or comprises the mountains, the hills, the rivers, the sky, the stars, etc. But as far as Wordsworth is concerned, once we know his concept of nature, then it is something unbelievable. Because he worshipped nature. He did not confine the term nature as something of the vegetation. Rather, he considered as if it is a living being. And it has the healing power. It can heal our sorrows and sufferings. Later, just in the course of time, we shall discuss regarding the concept of nature. But let you know that why is he called as the pantheist? Only because he was the high priest of nature. He worshipped nature. And the person or one who considers that God exists in nature, he is called as a pantheist. A person who considers or one who thinks that God exists in nature, that is in general or in our natural things or natural beauty, he is called as a pantheist. So what the theory he develops, as far as his poems are called, generally it is based on pantheism. And let us now just have a glance at his concept of nature. Concept of nature. So, Wordsworth's concept of nature is something unique. We have come across many nature poets. Wordsworth is one of them. But his concept of nature is something different. And if we discuss individually, actually, what Wordsworth considers as nature, or what Wordsworth considers nature is, then we can know actually how he was or he is called as the high priest of nature. Number one, Wordsworth is said to be a nature poet because he considers nature as a teacher. So as we know that teacher just makes a complicated thing or turns a complicated thing into simple. Exactly. If we keep friendship with nature, as far as Wordsworth is concerned, then we can avoid all the complications in our life and our life will be so simple. Nature will act as a teacher and she will teach us how to lead the life so that all the complications will go away and we can lead a very happy and contented life. Number two, briefly let us discuss all the aspects of nature or the concept of nature what Wordsworth devises. So, number two, he considers nature as a mother, and we know that mother is the symbol of love, affection, sympathy, and compassion. So Wordsworth advises us, advocates that if we develop friendship with nature, if we become intimate with nature, if we develop the close intimacy with nature, automatically we can derive such qualities like love, affection, sympathy, and compassion from nature. Nature will act as a mother, and the warmth of the motherhood can be derived from nature, but only when if we keep friendship, if we become close to nature, if we go to the depth of nature. Remaining aloof from nature, without paying heed to the depth of nature, we cannot find such type of qualities that we find from a mother. So nature will act as a mother. Number three, nature also acts as a what? Guide. How it is? You know that in our life, a guide is essential. Without the guide, we cannot lead our path in the right ways. We may go astray. We may take the wrong path because we can't know which one is the right path and which one is the wrong path. As a result, what it happens? Automatically, sometimes we go astray or we take the wrong path and our life remains within the sorrows and sufferings, the trials and tribulations, and life becomes full of din and bustle. It remains with anxieties of the world. So in that sense, if we develop intimacy with nature, then nature will guide us. It will not let us go astray. Rather, we shall take only the right path. We can enjoy our life. Our life will be mirthful, full of enjoyment. See how Wordsworth actually considers nature. And number for the most important, what it is? A philosopher. See, philosopher. So, what do we learn or what do we know by philosophy? It is nothing. It is about the ethics of life. To know actually what life is. To know, actually to reveal the inscrutable world. To find out the truth of the world. Because we are in a confusion. We are in the mystery. Our life is fully enigmatic. And in such enigma, actually, we don't know what life is. We don't know what is the mystery of this creation. We don't know mystery of ourselves. We can't recognize even who is or we can't recognize ourselves. the self-recognition does not come to our mind. Rather, when we keep friendship with nature, when we become so close to nature, nature acts as a philosopher and all the mystery, the enigma reveals before us thoroughly. At that time, we become able to know why or what actually or why the world is made for. What is the role of a human being? How should we spend our life? These are all sort of things. These are all sort of learnings, the lessons, the teachings we can derive from nature because it acts as a philosopher. And it reveals about the mystery of the creation of the world. See. So that is why in one of the poems, Orshad says that it is actually the human being finds in misery because of his own attitude, because he remains aloof from nature. The man has brought his misery only because he does not pay heed to nature and he does not consider nature as a teacher, a mother, a guide, and a philosopher. And this is why the man remains with sorrows and sufferings. And all such sorrows, the agonies, the sufferings, the trials and tribulations, everything will be away or everything can be avoided only when we become friend to nature. So nature has the healing power. It has the power to heal our sorrows and the sufferings. And once we develop intimacy with nature, nature will give us the life that is fully enjoyable, that is without any sorrows, without any sufferings. And let us now move to concept of poetry. So, as concept of nature is over, we shall now know about the concept of poetry as Orshad says. And his definition of poetry is a very common to all, basically those who love the poems of Orshad. What it is? Poetry is spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings, emotions recollected in tranquility. Emotions recollected in tranquility. Emotions recollected in tranquility. And this definition has been justified in this particular poem, Daffodils. First of all, let you know that the poetry comes through the overflowing of powerful feelings. It is not a simple flow of the feelings. The feelings must be powerful, and such powerful feelings must overflow. And that should overflow spontaneously, not by force. And emotions recollected in tranquility. As far as emotions, you know, it is the excited state of mind. And when it is recollected, it is emotions regarding all such things like the remembrance of the beauty of nature at home, remaining within the calm and quiet atmosphere. See here, so emotions recollected in tranquility. Tranquility refers to the calm and quiet, or it is the solitude, the solitary atmosphere. So, let us now know about Orshad that he is a poet. He never writes poem on the spot. Like the other poets, John Keats was one of the romantics who could even challenge to write a poem on the spot. But Orshad was not like that. Rather, he remains remains in a tranquil atmosphere, During that time, the beauty of the nature just appears suddenly within his mind, and the poet himself harmonizes with nature, or he feels as if he mingles with the natural beauty. That is why in the last stanza of this poem we can find out actually how poet himself harmonizes, or he feels as if he is lost within the beauty of the dancing daffodils. So here, spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings, emotions recollected in tranquility. In almost all the poems written by him, we may refer to the poem Tintern Abbey, where the concept of poetry, concept of nature as well as concept of poetry is clarified there. And if we know this particular definition given by the poet himself, then we can have a better understanding of the poem Daffodils. So, in our next class, we shall continue the poem part by part, and as far as introduction is concerned, it is so important to know about Wordsworth, his concept of nature and concept of poetry. This is all, and I think you must wait for the next episode where we shall discuss the poem Daffodils. Thank you.